All right, get ready to dive into the fascinating world where art meets philosophy.
Oh, it's a deep one.
It is. You guys sent in this foreword to Alex Gray's Sacred Mirrors. Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah, a classic.
It's a classic, and it talks about this concept called the perennial philosophy, and it uses that to unlock how we look at art. What do you think about that?
Well, it's like, it kind of gives you the keys to the castle a little bit, right? It's
Yeah.
like, to me, the perennial philosophy is about getting to some universal truths that are found in a lot of different spiritual traditions
Right.
and how they can be, applied to art, and also to understand um, ourselves and our place in the cosmos.
Exactly. So we're not just looking at paintings, we're looking at how art shows us our own consciousness and how we've evolved. It's a big one. And it all starts with this idea of the three eyes of knowing.
Yeah, I love that. I love that concept.
Okay, break it down for us.
So, the three eyes of knowing is a way of understanding that we perceive reality on different levels.
Hmm.
So, like, if you're a baby, right,
Yeah.
you're using the eye of flesh,
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just experiencing the world through your senses, through all the bright colors and sounds and smells and textures.
Yeah, just raw data coming in.
Totally.
Yeah.
But then, as we grow up, we develop the eye of mind.
Okay.
And the eye of mind is really all about, starting to make sense of the world, starting to categorize it. We start to develop language, we learn symbols, and we start to form ideas.
We upgrade our software a little bit.
Exactly. We go from just sensing to actually interpreting the world around us, right?
Okay.
So we have eye of flesh, eye of mind.
There's one more, right? This is the mysterious one.
This is the really juicy one.
Okay.
The eye of contemplation.
Mm.
And the eye of contemplation is all about accessing this deeper level of awareness, this kind of intuitive knowing that goes beyond the physical senses and beyond even the rational mind. It's that feeling you might get when you're standing in front of a great work of art. You feel the sense of awe and wonder.
Totally. Like time stops and you get pulled into the piece.
Exactly. And that's the eye of contemplation at work, right?
Okay.
It's not just about thinking about the art. It's about feeling it on a deeper, more intuitive level. And this ties into another concept from the perennial philosophy, the great chain of being.
Okay, that sounds pretty epic. Great chain of being. So what is that? Like the hierarchy of everything?
Yeah, you can think of it as a hierarchy. It basically starts with matter at the bottom,
Okay.
and it ascends through levels of increasing complexity. So you have plants, then animals, then humans, with our capacity for thought and feeling.
Oh, okay. So the three eyes are like different levels on this chain, right? Each
Yeah.
eye gives us access to a different level of reality.
Totally. Like the eye of flesh lets us experience the material world, the world of matter, right?
Yeah.
The eye of mind unlocks the world of ideas and concepts.
Got it.
And then the eye of contemplation is what allows us to glimpse this more spiritual realm, this realm of what they call the transcendent.
Okay, so where does art fit into all this? Are artists like climbing this chain through their art?
I think you could say that, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that art is a way for artists to depict or evoke different levels of this great chain of being through their work, right? So it's like they're using the medium of, whether it's paint or music or dance, they're using that medium to express their understanding of where we fit within this grand cosmic order.
So the art kind of becomes like a visual or auditory representation of our own consciousness, our evolution of thought.
I think that's a really beautiful way to put it, yeah.
Wow, I like that. Okay, so how did different art movements reflect these different eyes and levels of this great chain of being? Where do we even start?
Well, we could start with, like, the Renaissance.
Okay, yeah.
Because the Renaissance artists, you think about Michelangelo, Da Vinci, all those guys, they were masters of realism, right?
Yes.
And their meticulous detail and that precise perspective that they were using, I mean, that was really all about showcasing the eye of flesh.
Yeah. They wanted to show us exactly what the world looked like.
Yeah. And I think it was a big shift, too, from the more symbolic and stylized art of the Middle Ages.
Right.
They were celebrating the beauty and wonder of the physical world.
Okay, and then what happened?
And then things started to change.
Yeah, because I mean, we're not all just painting bowls of fruit anymore.
Exactly. I mean, when you get into modern art, you see this really distinct shift towards expressing the inner world, right? The world of thoughts, emotions, and the psyche.
Yeah.
So it's like the eye of mind takes center stage.
So instead of just showing the outside world, they're showing us their perspective, their thoughts.
Exactly. It's all about perspective. It's all about interpretation. And you think about, Picasso's Cubist portraits, right?
Mhm.
Where faces are like fragmented and rearranged,
Mm.
or Kandinsky's abstract compositions. They were really tapping into that realm of ideas and concepts, what they call the intelligibilia.
So it's like they were saying, hey, there's way more to the world than what we see on the surface.
Exactly. And I think some artists even went further.
Okay.
They aspired to actually express the transcendental, the realm of the spirit and the soul.
Wow. So they wanted to show us things beyond our physical and mental, like the spiritual realm. That's a big jump.
Huge jump, yeah. Like artists like Kandinsky and Mondrian, they believed that art could actually become a vehicle for spiritual experience and insight.
So they were using their art to show these transcendental things, these, I think you said transcendelia.
Transcendelia, yeah.
But how do you even depict something that's beyond form and thought?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah. That's like the ultimate challenge for an artist.
Totally.
So are there limitations to what art can express, especially when you're dealing with something as big as the spiritual?
Well, that's what we're going to get into next, because this foreword doesn't shy away from those challenges. And then we're going to talk about Alex Gray, and his work is all about bridging this gap between art and the spiritual realm.
Oh, I can't wait for that. All right, we're back, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around all this. The three eyes, the great chain of being. It's a whole new way of looking at art.
It is.
But before we get to Alex Gray and how he fits into all this, you were saying that some artists really struggle to capture the spiritual dimension in their work. What makes it so tricky?
Well, I mean, it's tough, right? How do you actually show something that's beyond form?
Yeah, it's like, how do you paint the wind or something?
Exactly. It's elusive. The foreword talks about how even artists who are trying to depict the spiritual sometimes just end up portraying their intellectual understanding of it.
So it's like they understand the concept, but they haven't necessarily experienced it directly.
Right. It's like the difference between reading about a mystical experience and actually having one yourself.
Makes sense. And I guess that's where the whole idea of the eye of contemplation comes in, right?
Totally. The foreword makes a big point that if you really want to perceive and express the spiritual dimension, you need to develop that eye of contemplation.
Because that's the eye that lets you tap into that deeper awareness beyond the physical and the mental.
Exactly. And this is where those contemplative practices like meditation become so important.
Oh, yeah. Like meditation could be a way to train that eye to fine-tune your perception.
That's a great way to put it. And it's interesting. The foreword points to Eastern art traditions as examples of art that's coming from this contemplative space.
Oh, right. Like those Tibetan mandalas or Zen gardens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because those artists are often steeped in meditation and those kinds of practices. So their art becomes an expression of their inner world, which is shaped by stillness and that heightened awareness.
It's like the art itself becomes a transmission of that meditative state.
It's beautiful, right?
It is. Okay, so how does Alex Gray fit into all of this? What makes his approach unique?
Well, Gray is very intentional about trying to integrate body, mind, and spirit in his artwork.
So he's not just showing us what we can see with our physical eyes.
Right, and his Sacred Mirrors series is especially fascinating. It's like he takes you on a visual journey through different levels of being.
So he's visually mapping out that great chain of being we were talking about.
Exactly, from the physical anatomy of the body to the most subtle spiritual energies.
And you were saying that this can be a powerful tool for self-discovery.
Absolutely, because by showing the body in such detail, both physically and energetically, Gray invites us to explore our own inner landscape, to see ourselves more fully.
It's like he's saying, hey, this is what you're made of. This is the full spectrum of your being.
Yes. And it's a reminder that we're so much more than just our physical bodies or even our thoughts and emotions.
We're part of this much larger web of existence.
Exactly.
So it's not just about looking at cool paintings. It's about using art as a catalyst for inner exploration.
It's about recognizing our own potential for wholeness and connection.
Wow. And all of this ties back to Schopenhauer's idea of unity consciousness, right?
Exactly. That idea that we can experience a state of oneness, of transcending those boundaries between ourselves and the world around us.
And art can help us get there.
Art can give us glimpses of that state, those moments of pure awareness.
Like those moments of awe and wonder you were talking about.
Precisely.
But it's not just about the artist, right? The viewer also plays a crucial role in how we experience the art.
Absolutely. We bring our own eyes to the experience, right?
So how can we become more conscious viewers, especially when we're engaging with art that's trying to express something so subtle?
Well, remember that part in the foreword about the horizontal and vertical scales for judging art.
Yeah. The horizontal scale was all about the context surrounding the art, like the artist's background, the historical period.
And the vertical scale was about how high up the great chain of being the artwork was aiming.
Right. Like, is it focused on the physical, the mental, or something even more transcendent?
Exactly. And the foreword emphasizes that while the horizontal stuff is important, we shouldn't lose sight of that vertical dimension.
Okay, so how do we actually apply that when we're looking at art?
Well, when you're looking at a piece, try to consider which eye you're using to perceive it.
So, am I mostly noticing the colors and shapes, or am I connecting with the ideas and emotions it's conveying? Or am I even sensing something deeper, something that speaks to that eye of contemplation?
You got it. It's not about judging the art based on which eye you're using.
Okay.
It's more about recognizing that different levels of perception are possible.
And each level can offer different insights.
Exactly. And we can actually shift our focus. We can consciously engage different eyes to have a richer experience.
It's like we're adding layers to our understanding, going beyond just the surface.
That's a great way to put it.
So the three eyes almost become like a language for talking about those layers of meaning and experience.
I like that. A language for art. And remember, the foreword tells us that the ultimate goal of contemplative practices is to move beyond the limitations of any single eye.
And to experience that unity consciousness, where the separation between you and the art dissolves.
Exactly.
So it's about recognizing that interconnectedness.
And the foreword suggests that art can give us little glimpses of that.
Those moments when you feel completely absorbed in the experience.
Yes. And while Western art may still be figuring out how to fully express that spiritual dimension,
Right.
there are artists like Alex Gray who are creating work that can really transport us to that realm.
It's like they're holding up a mirror, not just to our physical selves, but to our whole being.
And it's a powerful invitation to recognize our own wholeness, our connection to something bigger.
This has been such a mind-blowing conversation. It's given me so much to think about.
I'm glad. And remember, the exploration doesn't end here.
Oh, definitely not. So to everyone listening, keep those three eyes open and keep exploring. You never know what amazing things you might discover. I feel like my brain just did a marathon. From three eyes to Great Chain of Being to Alex Gray's wild artwork, this has been quite a deep dive.
And we're just scratching the surface here. This foreword is packed with ideas. It's really a jumping off point.
I know. I feel like I need to visit a museum like right now. But we've been focusing on paintings, and it makes me wonder, does this whole perennial philosophy thing, does it only work for traditional art?
That's a great question.
Like, what about movies or video games? Can we use those three eyes there too?
Well, the beauty of this philosophy, I think, is that it's not just about like specific art forms, you know?
Right.
It's about these universal principles that can apply to any creative expression.
Okay, so it's like a lens that we can use to look at anything, not just paintings on a wall.
Exactly. Like, think about a movie like Avatar. I mean, visually, it's stunning. The colors, the landscapes, the special effects, that's your eye of flesh going wild.
Oh, yeah. Total sensory overload.
But then you've got the deeper themes. The movies about interconnectedness, respecting nature, consciousness beyond the physical body. Those are hitting that eye of mind.
Right. And the movie makes you feel this sense of awe, like you're transported to another world, maybe even connected to something bigger than yourself. Is that the eye of contemplation peeking in?
Absolutely. So even a sci-fi blockbuster can tap into those same levels of meaning.
So we're not limited to just stuffy museums to have these kinds of experiences. We can find it everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's in video games, too. Think of a game like Journey. It's visually beautiful, emotionally moving, and it takes you on this inner journey. It's not just about winning or losing.
It's like a metaphor for life and death and rebirth, all wrapped up in this amazing game.
Exactly. So this framework, these three eyes, they can help us understand art from any time period, any style. It's about seeing those universal patterns.
It's about recognizing that art, in all its forms, has the potential to engage us on so many levels, from the purely sensory to the deeply spiritual. It's pretty powerful.
It is powerful.
Yeah.
And it's not just about analyzing it, you know? It's about letting art transform you, letting yourself be moved, challenged, having your perspective blown wide open.
So it's about approaching art with this open mind and heart, ready to be surprised and learn something new.
Exactly. And that's what art is all about, you know, connecting us with something bigger than ourselves, awakening us to the beauty that's all around us.
This deep dive has been incredible. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us.
My pleasure. It's been fun.
To everyone listening, keep those three eyes wide open and keep exploring. You never know what amazing things you'll find. Thanks for joining us on this journey.